Back again with a Health Topics Tuesday with Star Valley Medical Center and SVI Media. Dr. Brown is with us today, family practice at SVMC. But today we are talking about Cervical Health Awareness Month, which is this month in January. So Dr. Brown, we appreciate your time as always. Before we get to cervical health awareness, let's talk a little bit about you again. I know you've already introduced yourself, but just for reminder's sake, tell us where you're coming from and how long you've been at SVMC.
Sure. So my name is Clay Brown. I've been in Star Valley here now for almost a year and a half. I grew up in the area. I went away to medical school at the University of Washington, did my residency down at the University of Texas, and then I did a fellowship in obstetrics and women's health in North Dakota. And we've been back here in the Valley since August of last year, and things are going great so far.
So as far as cervical health awareness, tell us what that even means. When we talk about the cervical, what does that imply?
Yeah, so Cervical Health Awareness Month, I think it's in January of this coming year. And it's just an opportunity for us to remind women in the community that it's time to check in and check in with their doctor to see if they're up to date on their cervical cancer screenings and to make sure everything's in line there. In terms of cervical cancer screening, that's the big thing that we're reinforcing here, is that it's time to make sure that we are up to date on our cervical cancer screening with Pap testing. They used to consider that we needed to have the annual exam that everyone tends to dread. Cervical cancer screening's come a long way in the last few years, and so actually it's not something that we have to do every year. It can be anywhere from 3 to 5 years or shorter duration than that, depending on what they find with the screenings. And so I think the best rule of thumb is to check in with your doctor to see when you're due for your next Pap testing.
Dr. Clay Brown with Star Valley Medical Center with us again today with the Health Topics Tuesday. And Dr. Brown, I'm assuming that this is like most types of screenings and treatments, prevention is key in something like this.
Exactly right. Cervical cancer is one of the most common cancers that women face. Thousands of women die every year from it, unfortunately, and it is largely preventable. If you're up to date on your screenings and have had all your treatments, then most people won't ever suffer the effects of cervical cancer. The hard part is making sure that you're in with your doctor and having the conversations and the examinations and the testing that's necessary to help prevent that cancer from happening.
And Dr. Brown, when you talk about prevention for cancer and everything like that, family history, does that play into this as well, as far as how young you need to be when you start getting screens for this, or is there kind of an age, maybe plateau where you reach this certain age and maybe it's time to get screened at that point?
Yeah, so what we recommend now is that all women start screening for cervical cancer starting at age 21. From then on, it's every 3 years as long as everything is normal until you're 30, after which, if everything is normal, you can go every 5 years between screenings. But all of that's depending on what types of abnormalities or what normal cells they see on the screening. One thing that's also important to remember is that as a preventable disease, there are vaccinations that can prevent this. So cervical cancer is one of the only cancers that we know of that's almost always caused by a virus. And so it is recommended that for both men and women, they start getting immunizations starting at age 11 or 12. And that's indicated, the CDC recommends that even if you're a little bit late into that game, you're still recommended that you get it up to the age of 26, and the vaccines are actually approved till age 45. And so if you haven't had the vaccinations, I would recommend that you consider talking with your doctor about that too.
Dr. Clay Brown and Star Valley Medical Center. And here at the end, Dr. Brown will just give you a chance to remind our listeners what your specialty is, as we've been talking about, of course, family medicine, but you specialize in women's health.
Yeah, so I do, most of my work is done with family medicine, so I take care of the whole family, but my specialty is women's health and obstetrics, and so we like to help families as they grow with pregnancy, and also we help women with their postmenopausal issues as well.
Dr. Clay Brown, Star Valley Medical Center and Health Topics Tuesday.